Here's a little update for what's going on across social media for anybody that's not aware. Is that, there's been a lot of things that have come out recently about the Charlie Kirk situation that I don't think many people are aware of. More or less, Candace Owens was able to receive some text messages that Charlie Kirk had sent to about 8 of his closest confidants 2 days before he was assassinated. And he comes out and he says that basically Jewish donors are bullying him, and they had just removed $2 million in funding for Turning Point. And 2 days later, he was assassinated, and more or less they tried to cover this all up, that he was turning, he comes out and says, I'm going to be forced to turn against Israel or no longer be pro-Israel. And so what happened is he was assassinated, and then right afterwards, I don't know if y'all noticed it, but Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israelis, they came out and said Charlie Kirk was the biggest Israeli supporter, and he died fighting for Israel and all this stuff. And all the people that were in on that close confidant message backed up that message. And they said, Charlie Kirk, died supporting Israel, and he's such a hero and all this stuff. But since Candace Owens released these text messages 2 days ago, all these people are having to backtrack. And this huge story that he was, died supporting Israel is completely kaput. And, Candace Owens has been dragging this out and giving them, basically giving the world time to mourn, but also giving the opportunity for these 8 close confidants to come out and say that Charlie was changing and he was evolving his approach. And so what this shows is that whoever was leaking these messages didn't want Charlie Kirk to come out and share with his followers that he was turning to be against Israel, or no longer. One can be not pro-Israel, they can be neutral, but that enough would be enough to change so many people's perspectives. And so this is all coming out really rapidly, and Candace Owens has been sharing slowly who was in on these messages. And what we're seeing is that there's a huge cover-up going on amongst our government, amongst the FBI. They're trying to rush through this investigation, and they're not looking at actually the motives. Who would have wanted him dead? Why would they have wanted him dead so rapidly after those messages had been shared? And it's all a major linchpin and a domino that has a good chance of bringing down this entire structure that we're seeing. It really feels like over the past month, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they have upped the amount of soldiers that are coming into the cities to foment a civil war, to bring down the whole system before any of this can come to light. And that's why we're also seeing a rush to create some form of peace between Israel and Palestine at this moment, because they realize that that's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to bring down the whole charade. And so this is just an update for anybody that's kind of interested in what has been going on. And what's so interesting to me is that if you look at John F. Kennedy's assassination and Charlie Kirk's, they're basically the exact same. Whether or not Israel pulled the trigger, both stood up for America and said, we're not going to be bullied. John F. Kennedy specifically, all of that paperwork came out about what was occurring, and is what happened is that he was standing up against David Ben Gurion, who was the leader of Israel at the time, had been in power for decades. And he said, if you don't allow us to have weapon inspectors for your nuclear weapons, we're going to cut you off. We're not going to deal with you any longer. David Ben Gurion stepped down that week, and it was only a matter of time, maybe a month or two later, when JFK was assassinated. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. He put his foot in the sand and said, I'm not going to be bullied. He was offered $150 million directly from Benjamin Netanyahu, who turned down. And then whenever the donations stopped, he said, I'm going to be forced to stop supporting the pro-Israel cause. And he was assassinated 2 days later. So I'm not saying that it definitely was Israel. I'm saying that they are the same in terms of standing up to Israel, and they were assassinated very shortly after. So hopefully this is an update that people can be aware of, that the Charlie Kirk story is still ongoing, and it actually is sort of a straw that's going to break the camel's back in terms of support for Israel. Already the left and the right are really turning against that, and seeing how much manipulation there is to guarantee the safety and security of Israel at the expense of American taxpayers. They're getting tons of money to be able to afford free healthcare, free college, whenever it's becoming almost an unlivable situation in the United States. And so this is just an update about what's going on in social media, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and it's an ongoing story. So just be aware of it. Peace out, and hope you enjoyed this update.